Right. This is the post-lunch rush. We were a bit worried about this slot where everyone is enjoying chatting and eating lovely things out there. So thank you for making it into the room. I think we'll have a few more coming in at the back. So welcome to this session on mentoring. And I hope this afternoon we're going to share with you both all of our passion for mentoring, and there are a number of people in the room as well, and our huge breadth of experience. So hopefully this is going to be fun, it's going to be interactive. You might see there's some activities up here, and we're going to keep it pacey and interesting. I know there is lots of listening that goes on over all these days at a conference, so I'm hoping to get everybody involved in a bit of mentoring as well. So I hope everybody's up for that. So my name's Joanna Gray. I work for an organisation called, if the clicker works. I'm okay. Good recovery, because I can't make this work. Guys? So, the clicker's not working. But I work... Sorry? I work for an organisation called Youth Business International. You'll find some information in front of you. We are a network of 50 organisations around the world, all focused on a similar mission of working with young people to help them start, grow and sustain a business. So we're all in to hear this for entrepreneurship. I've got a number of our members here on the panel here today. We all work in a similar way, helping entrepreneurs understand the tools they need and the skills to become entrepreneurs through different kinds of training. We've had lots of discussion about access to finance, but mentoring is one of the key things that we do. And across our network, we've helped over 40 organizations through the past 10 years, really, to either start, grow, or sustain their mentoring programs. So we like to think we've got a huge breadth of experience in that. I was in a session this morning where we were talking about entrepreneurial ecosystems, and how every country we're in, everything's very, very different. I think what's really unique about mentoring and why we see this has been such a success across our 50-member network of organizations is that mentoring is about human relationships, and therefore it works in different contexts and different cultures. However, we don't have one, so YBI as an organization does not have a mentoring program, successful mentoring programs, and we have a global network of volunteer business mentors totaling about 14,000 across our organizations. So I was just going to quickly say a little bit about how we go out there and help people to establish mentoring programs. We have a 10-step approach to that. And if they get the slides working, you'll be able to see it, but I can still remember it enough to talk you through it. It all starts with a mentoring program manager. You need somebody passionate at the center of your mentoring program to really make it work. And I'm going to jump ahead to that, because that's where I've gone. Yeah, it all starts with a mentoring program manager at the middle. This is the core kind of driver of any successful program. All 4 people here will tell you that they have excellent people running their mentoring programs, and this is why they're such a big success. There's a huge amount of planning and resource that goes into establishing a mentoring program. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's a quick win. I'm just going to put some people together. It'll be just like a kind of a speedy conversation. It isn't. It's a long-term commitment that we talk about, and it takes time and energy and some structure to help people get the most out of those relationships. There's a whole process about how we recruit and bring people into that program. All our mentoring programs are supported by volunteers. So those are entrepreneurs or business people in local communities who give their time for nothing to help a young person kind of really focus and develop their business. But that comes with a lot of work. Well, there is a big selection process. I was chatting to someone just beforehand. You know, how do you say no as well as yes? So there's a lot of thinking that goes through the planning of that. We focus on training, absolutely essential, and we're going to have a go at that as well. Then we have to think about how do we put the right 2 people together. Matching is kind of crucial. This is a relationship you're establishing amongst 2 people. Then there's the whole impact. How are we monitoring, supporting, motivating, ensuring that energy stays within our mentoring programs? And what does an evaluation look like and an exit strategy? Because you want to be able to utilize that pool of mentors again and again. And there is an end at some point, potentially. And it's how we support people to do that. So this is the model that across the YBI network, everyone will have looked at a stage of that and thought through how they're going to make that work in their own context. I was just going to say one more thing about the type of mentoring that we're talking about here. I've said it's voluntary. I don't know about you, I go to a lot of these events and you see a lot of kind of experts on the stage and people asking, you know, what's the greatest bit of advice you've ever been given? The best bit of advice I've ever was given was when my mother told me never to touch a hot oven. Great advice. But I've got to tell you, I've burnt my fingers a number of times. So advice is advice. It's context specific. You can take it or leave it. I think I would ask everybody here, what's the best question you've ever been asked? Questions open up our mind to a huge opportunity to think differently, to question ourselves, to think more deeply. And they don't need to be complicated. They don't need to be clever. The best question I was ever asked was, when will you stop doing this? And I'd spent a lot of time moaning about something that I found really challenging. The question, when will you stop, gave me permission to think about, right, I need to take some action now. And then I had that person's support to help me. So anyone you meet over the next 2 days, because this is all about connecting with other people, I'd be asking that question. What's the best question that you've ever been asked? And this is the kind of mentoring we're talking about here, that it's supporting in a non-directive way, supporting a young person to think through, find their own solution to their business challenges, and to enable them to make a success of that. Okay. I'm going backwards in the slides, just to give you a picture of where we are around the world. And those orange dots are everywhere in our network where someone is running a mentoring program. And all of those people would recognize everything and have thought through all of those stages, though they might all do it quite differently. Now, why is it a success? I don't want to drill into some. I've got some details on our research that if anyone is really interested, they are most happy to come and kind of collect at the end. I think what we know is our model is based on what we see as effective practice across the industry. We work with a lot of academics in the field of mentoring. We know our model is robust and effective and is evident of, and matches good practice across all different kinds of disciplines where mentoring is used. And we conducted some quite rigorous research with a university in the UK that looked at our mentoring program and our members' mentoring programs around the world and introduced a variety of benefits for young entrepreneurs. 4 that I've just highlighted there about confidence and decision-making, how much that improved for young people, and turnover, and something they're calling the accelerator effect that mentoring plays for young people in enabling them to move forward with their business ideas and their goals. So I will be involved in some mentoring. So you can listen to me go on about how exciting it is it's an activity around mentoring. Because training is often something that's missed when you see programs that are still finding their way to find what's effective. So, is everyone up for giving it a go? Into 3s. Gather into a group of 3 people. You don't want an observer. Right? Okay. Are we managing to find a 3? And I need somebody at the other side. I might have to separate you 2 to join a...
It will be better with one screen.
Okay. Oh, we need someone here. Can I have a third person here? Huh? Are we all nearly in a 3? Okay, if we don't quite have the numbers, don't worry, we'll just have to observe. Perfect. Okay, before anyone does anything, 3s, please, just so I can give some instructions. Right. We now need to decide, out of the 3 of you, one person is going to be the mentor, one person is going to be the entrepreneur, and they will be wearing the blindfold. And one person will be the observer, which means they do nothing but observe. No interfering, no talking, nothing. Is that clear? Yeah. Now I think we might be, I've just realised we're a Jenga short somewhere, or two, sorry. We've all brought this in our luggage from various parts of the world, Spain and the UK. So if you don't have a Jenga, I have to ask you to join another group and at least be able to observe. So we might have to have two observers. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. Are we nearly all set up? Have we decided who's going to be the mentor? Who's going to be the entrepreneur? Who's going to be the observer? So entrepreneurs, you need to put your blindfold on, please. There should have been a blindfold. Okay, and hold on. So, everybody, one moment. What we're going to do is, this is a competition. Yes? This is a competition, and the entrepreneur needs to build the tallest tower. Tallest. We will be measuring. My glamorous assistant is ready. With a tape measure.
So I think
we will be measuring to see who builds the tallest tower. Okay? Right. So, entrepreneur is the only person who is doing the building. The mentor will use their mentoring skills of guiding and supporting to help them achieve what they want to achieve. The observer is just looking to notice what goes on, and I would like some feedback at the end about what you notice. And the things you're looking out for are, how have you managed to give that person confidence? How have you supported them? How have you communicated with them? How have you motivated them? Does that make sense? Is that clear to everybody? Okay, so final step. Can everyone have the pieces flat on the table? Deconstruct your towers. When you're ready, I just like everyone's hand in the air. I want to see a blindfold on somebody, and I know we're good to go, and I'll say start. Okay, pieces down, blindfold on somebody. Who is wearing blindfold? Who's wearing a blindfold here? Okay, hands in the air, no starting until we say go. I want hands in the air. Hold on over here. No advanced work, no advanced work. Hands in the air. Hands in the air. Are we ready? Hands in the air. No, you can't do the building. Task maybe. No more instructions. You've been creative in life. Only the entrepreneur can do the building. Are we ready? Okay. Go!
Yes, perfect. Yeah. Okay, now pull it up. Okay, just try to move from them to there and like click a loop. That's good job. Okay. You're doing very well. Everybody's fun.
excellent. That way round?
Tallest.
It's easy for now. It's going to get
But so now we're on the floor.
I can also do this.
Comedy of error.
other people doing
I like-
two ways.
Yeah, they are. But I think ours is like theirs is the other is I think we'll have a longer sticking a bit more free, but theirs is okay, we're supposed to connect people. Okay, 1, 2,
Which way around?
Here all afternoon.
Let me remind you that this is a competition, and only the tallest tower will win. It seems that someone is trying to put all the pieces inside the box again.
You should be doing that.
Observers, I hope you're looking out for the communication skills, the motivation skills. No, no at the end. Zip it. So it's good I brought this early.
Eh?
It was good having this early on. It does get, yeah. Otherwise, it's just too much listening to people.
So
Yeah.
we are not in the 5 minutes.
Okay, good. Ooh.
Hello. Hi. You still have time. Okay, okay.
Okay, we've got a couple of finishers. No pressure on anyone else. Oh, I think just to preserve people's structures, Guillaume, we might need to do some measuring. Is it worth doing some early measuring? Woo!
You're sweating, man.
Ooh. Are you going to do some measuring? Yeah, yeah. One. I think most people are done. Yeah, I think most people are done. Yeah.
1 minute more. ask first the...
Observer. No? Or you want to ask the entrepreneur? Okay. Yeah, yeah. We're going to measure first, though.
Huh?
Measure. Are you ready?
Time, hands out, no?
Sorry?
Time, hands out, no?
Yeah.
It's not the highest, though, because I think I
Stop! Time has gone. Hands out.
Hands. Well done. Okay. It's the moment of truth, the tape measure. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. $47.
Okay, who can beat 47 centimeters?
This.
I think we've got a couple at the back there that look like hot competition.
38. $30.
Was there some cheating at the front?
36. 36.
I don't think they're going to make it.
64.
Ooh, who's going to beat 64?
29. 43.
Ooh, well done.
35. 24.
To beat 47.
38.
He made a special.
47, no? There.
Ooh.
61.
Woo! So, our winner is?
They are
That one? What were you?
They are the winners.
What?
67?
That was 67.
Okay.
Oh, remeasure, recount.
61?
The highest.
It was 67?
64. So we have a winner at the back. Well done. Brilliant. Okay, a few questions. So those of you who were the entrepreneur, how was that for you?
Well, actually, it was a bit confusing at first, but he was speaking like so calm, so cool, and I don't panic. So I thought that we were just playing a game. I just forgot the competition, and he always directed me. And at some point, I got that I'm making some mistakes, but he was like always supporting. You're going good. You're doing great. And I felt like very confident and just go on. Yeah, it was nice.
Nice mentoring. Well done. Thank you.
So I think it helped that I had Sandy
Yeah.
guide me. So she would say things like, very good. You're doing really good now. So now you're going a bit higher, so you got to be careful now. You know, so it was just good to hear her voice and have that voice guide me. So that was excellent.
Brilliant. Sometimes it doesn't. You don't have to do much as a mentor to make people feel supported and confident. I think that's what that's telling me. Anyone else? Entrepreneurs that want to say something? Maybe the winners here.
I really enjoyed the learning part, the learning curve, because it was to get the sense of orientation. I had one hand always on the structure, and he was a guide as well. So
Ah, that was your secret, the technique there. Yep. Entrepreneur? We'll come back to somebody else. 1 second.
To me, I get surprised when I saw the outcome. I didn't think it will be like this, but their instructions, it helps me to do this small tower. It's small, but it's tidy.
Good. So you're proud of your work. I think that's important too. Okay. Sorry. In the name of speed, mentors. Any mentors with some thoughts about how they approached that, what they felt worked?
I think he had a heart attack though.
I think it is a challenge of a mentor to accept when you've got nothing more to teach. And when someone who's blindfolded is already doing a better job than you could do without a blindfold, makes it a lot harder to give advice that is constructive.
No, but what I would correct and add that I saw you being very supportive. So sometimes that's all it takes.
Hi. To me, actually, he was listening to every instruction I gave and he was doing it right. And that was great because we were able to move on. And if we had to take a step back, he would listen as well, take a step back, fix it, and move on.
Okay. Useful? Anyone? Yes, winning team mentor. Do they have something to add?
For me, I think Marcel seemed to know what he was doing. So I realized that the most important thing for me perhaps is to just trust him and then continue guiding him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something we all learn is that entrepreneurs know what they want. We have to find the way to support that individual person with what they need. Okay, final word for the observers. Any observers notice things they'd like to share with the room?
One of the things that I observed while looking at the both of them is that at one point the entrepreneur had an idea of what she wanted to get done, but the mentor who was seeing the situation was telling her, no, you need to do it this way, and she says, no, I'm doing it this way, and there was an argument that ensued. Eventually what happened is the mentor relented and said, okay, let's do it this way and we'll see what happens.
So excellent. So the mentor had to let go of what they wanted, which is important and really hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, as an observer, I realized that the mentor was so good, calm and collected. I was in my head, I was going, go fast, everybody's going ahead, you know. But she just kept saying, take your time, you have enough time, just be calm. And that kept, her cool. She was doing it, logically and very calm and collected. And that was, I think, was a very good thing, So the mentor was definitely very, very good. And I was up on her game.
Thank you. Nice. Her presence helped. Yes. Observers.
Okay, so it was quite fun watching. First of all, the entrepreneur took instructions. The entrepreneur took instructions really, really well. When she was inclined to maybe panic a little because something was a bit wobbly or whatever, the mentor was like, no, you're doing just fine. We're here. Don't look around. Just breathe. So it was very encouraging watching the relationship happen. I was also threatened by the mentor, so
Okay, we won't dwell on that, but that's probably not so great practice.
Yeah, I think it was fun watching the teamwork here. I think one additional observation is the mentor had the benefit of seeing how other people's towers were performing, and I think possibly that's something the mentor brings to the table. So I felt as they moved on, the mentor was trying to challenge the entrepreneur a bit more, largely because of how other people were performing. So I think that's possibly helpful.
Very helpful. I think as mentors, sometimes you are that guide for somebody to raise that level of challenge if they're up for it. Sorry, go on.
So here the entrepreneur was trying to go too safe. So building a solid base, trying to fill here and there. And at some point the mentor was like, go faster, go taller, no worries, it's gonna fall, try it again. Yeah, no worries, put the other 1 centimeter, be careful. So it was a lot of instructions that at the moment the entrepreneur wants to go just to make it right, and is not able to see how far can he go. So with mentor help, was able to, okay, let's take the risk. He's looking, I cannot.
just let's try it, and it worked out very well.
Yep, demonstrating that accelerator effect that I was talking about. I think mentors help us to be bold when maybe we aren't ready to be. Okay.
They got some of that in mind.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Can I ask a question for the entrepreneurs and observers? How many mentors shared information about the competitors with their entrepreneurs?
How many mentors what?
Yeah?
Shared information
Yeah?
about competitors.
Not here? No? Okay.
Interesting thought.
And your point?
So it's something interesting, not focusing only in building the tower, giving information about the context, about the market. It's also very helpful in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yep.
Even when I opened my eyes and saw others, the tower is so big, I get surprised. I said, "Oh, my is small." They said, "It's okay, it's okay, but it's better and solid, have good bases." They encourage me, "It's my better, even if it's not that all."
Okay, but just sharing the information, it will be good.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining in with that and giving it a go and playing with it. I think often when we are working with mentors, all of our programs around the world, they will tell you how to engage people and really understand the skills of being a mentor is one of the best things you can do. And it's hard because people, experienced entrepreneurs, experienced business people, do not want to come to a training workshop, but they will engage in something that's interesting and that is seen in kind of positioned in a different context, I think, to enable them to get their head in the right place to be mentors. So I hope that's an example. We do it live in lots of programs, and we're thinking of investing maybe in Jenga. That's going to be our next business decision. So thank you. I wanted now to move on. If everyone's happy to kind of turn back to the front, stay where you are, stay comfortable. Oops. And we have a panel of experts now. So you've heard a little bit about what we do. You've given it a go. And now you have some wonderful people here to share some experiences around specifically what they do in their programs and ask some questions. So grab your seat again. Welcome my wonderful panelists. They will all introduce themselves so that we kind of keep on to time and give everyone the chance to ask a question. But I guess we're here to talk about establishing and scaling mentoring programs. So they are kind of my two questions. And we'll move along the panel. So I'm starting with, what was your biggest challenge as you started to establish a mentoring program? And Guillaume, if you're happy to kick us off.
No, you got to push the button.
Yeah.
See, this is what I was on.
So we joined the Youth Business International Network in 2012 and very attracted by this mentoring program. And when YBI was sharing with us the methodology and the mentoring approach, for us it was like very difficult that this will work in Spain, having a businessman and high-tech executive of companies being volunteers, supporting young entrepreneurs. This was also very challenging was about training. For us, it seems at that time difficult that delivering training for high-level executives and business people. But it was really helpful. Our success with the mentoring program is very based in this training. The training that we deliver to mentors and mentees is an induction training with an objective to share the program overview, also to share, to try to match the expectations of each other, and something that for us has been very surprising, it's how helpful is sharing with potential mentors the mentoring methodology based on active listening, making open questions, and being supportive without being directive. That it's something that it's challenging. So when we explain the volunteer mentors that they need to attend a 5 hours induction training after a selection interview, they tell us in the beginning, okay, I'm sorry, but I want to volunteer. I'm not looking for a job. But after the training, and they feel that they have enough experience, and what they will share me or show me in 5 hours training. But after doing this kind of exercise in the training, they realize that this is not easy to do, being supportive without being directive. We are working with people that it's used to say everyone what to do. When they go to their business, they say what to do. When they go home, they say everyone what to do. And being supportive without being directive is really a challenge.
Yep. Adenike, for you.
So, our challenge really was largely around the continuation of the timeline for our mentoring program. So before we joined the YBI network, what we called our mentoring program then was 2 to 3 months. And then I remember when we started this conversation, we were made to understand that that's coaching, not made to understand, but that's more of a coaching. That ideally for a successful and impactful mentoring program, you need a duration of about 12 months, relatively speaking. And similar to your perspective, quite a lot of our mentors then were maybe experienced entrepreneurs or professionals. And the idea of supporting someone for a 12-month period really seemed like a long time for them. So part of the thing that we really needed to do was that culture orientation to help both the mentor and the mentee understand why that long term in the duration, but also to make them see it not in the sense of how long it was. So a few things we did was to even celebrate the start of the journey. So celebrate the actual mentoring, mentor-mentor matching once you've done the mentor training. And and when we say celebrate it, put some sort of event around the first time a mentor and a mentee meets. Let them, but before that time, they've already known more about the mentor and the mentee. They've known about each other, but understand the journey that they're going to have over the 12-month period. But also more importantly, like you also inferred earlier on, was having a manager, so somebody whose dedicated responsibility was to ensure that they're not only matched, but they meet as often as possible. And then if there are issues in the process of the mentoring relationship, it's quickly identified, escalated and resolved in however way it can be resolved. The other important thing for us to do to address that challenge was clear definition of mentoring goals. So one of the things that we did was, so initially our mentoring started in between our training program, but then we moved the mentoring to after the completion of, so even if you're doing a 2 to 3 month training, the mentoring would not happen till after, because we found out that some of the mentoring objectives were addressed during the duration of the initial training or capacity building program. So it moved till after, and by then the person already has foundation of the business concepts for whatever business level or stage that they are. And we also have an opportunity to better understand the entrepreneur's journey and support them in defining smarter or clearer goals, and also ensuring that the mentoring matching takes into consideration of that and matches them with a suitable mentor for that. But then I think the last thing is also us always being available so they know that they can quickly escalate, because sometimes 2 to 3 meetings down the line, we may find out that it's not a suitable mentor matching relationship. So how do we quickly address for that, and then provide alternate solutions or options for them?
I think what they're demonstrating so far is it takes a lot of work, and something we always say is start small, because you can hear the adjustments that they're both referring to that they learned along the way. Everybody learns something as they start out. They think, oh, I'm going to do this slightly differently because of that. So thank you. Shedron.
All right, let me tell. All right, so in terms of challenges that we had, I think it's with any new mentoring program, when you're entering the stage, you realize that you face cultural challenges in terms of persons understanding what is mentorship and wanting to be volunteered mentors in any program. I mean, experienced business persons, their time is valuable. Everybody always equates time to money. And how do we now attribute that, giving my time and my experience I've learned over the stages, voluntarily to an entrepreneur? And I think with the training, as Guillermo illustrated before, is very valuable. Some of us went to the Jenga experience and realized that, it's a fine line between a mentor being too involved in the person's business and now kind of wanting to take over, And we kind of have to restrain our hands from not taking the Jenga pieces and setting them up ourselves, right? Because you know what is going on, and then you see the environment around, and you're seeing someone building a 64-inch tower next door, and you're saying, you could do a little better. Raise it, right? But nobody actually started off asking the entrepreneur, what do you want, right? We told you what you wanted to get as a goal, right? But none of us actually started asking the entrepreneur first, what do you want out of this mentor relationship, right? And I think it's just developing that mindset between, I'm a coach, I have the experience, and I know everything about business, and therefore you should listen to me as a mentor. So I think it's getting that mindset out, and even from the entrepreneurs. So they come to the mentoring relationship. This is my business. What should I do? What's next, right? And so even learning from YBI, we realized that let the entrepreneurs set the agenda for the meeting, set the direction for what the relationship should be. So it's understanding that you have to, let's kind of do an entire mindset change, both from the entrepreneurs and from the mentors and even sometimes from the program end, in understanding that you're dealing with persons, right? And human beings by nature change, right? So the programs by themselves need to change.
Definitely, thank you. And that reminder of that this is about relationships. That's the thing you're navigating half the time as well. Thanks, Shedron.
I think this works, yes. So for us, actually, less on the behavioral side, one of the biggest challenges we were facing was we're a national organization, and our mentoring program is not standalone, so it's tied to financing. So figuring out how we would provide the mentoring program on a national level, scaling it, and being able to provide that to the entrepreneur and the mentor was the biggest challenge. We could have an entrepreneur in one province with a specific need, while the mentors in another province able to support, but they rather prefer to meet in person. Trust, we found, was built in person, even though we've offered virtual mentoring. And so scaling that so that we've got the right amount of mentors in the right regions to provide the relevant support was a big piece for us. Another one was always about protection of the business plan and the ideation piece. That's a big one for us as well. Oftentimes our entrepreneurs think that they're afraid that their ideas are going to be stolen, and we've had challenges where there's been variations or iterations of ideas that have been implemented, and for those reasons it's coming down with very strong policies and procedures and expectations of what we want from our mentoring relationship. And I would say another hurdle was setting expectations. So a mentor, an entrepreneur, I'm using acronyms. YE is a young entrepreneur for us. An entrepreneur coming in and expecting the mentor to do the work for them was another piece as well. As opposed to providing guidance and advice, they expected this mentor to be like, you need to be the solution to everything I have problems with, which then also breaks down our mentoring relationship. And one other thing, if I could just add, is our mentoring program is offered for the 2 years of their relationship. And so the relationship tends to fall apart, we find on average on an 18-month time frame. So we're looking into why that happens, but I think primarily, obviously, it's because the needs of the entrepreneur are shifting from the time they've launched in that 2-year framework. So we're thinking about whether we keep that long-term mentoring piece and then adding in on-demand experts for specific subject matter expertise.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think what you've highlighted really nicely there is all of that expectation stuff is what everyone tries to work on at the start to ease out, because you know it's going to be a problem if you don't work on it at the beginning. And the same thing, I've worked in mentoring in many different contexts than this, and one of the what I noticed difference that within the network we do is this selection process is so critical to get the right people involved. And people are quite choosy. They've got to a place where not everyone is a great mentor, and they're not afraid to pick the right people because they're going to be supporting those young entrepreneurs. Okay, second question. How are we doing for time? Cool. Second question is scaling. So we've all started. Everyone's learned a few lessons along the way. Into their programs, made a few changes, now feeling a bit confident, a lot of experience. Now you want to reach more people. That's eventually we all just want to have more impact on what we do. But this is about relationships. It's challenging. It's not something you can just roll out to the masses. Guys, starting with you again, Guillaume. How did you start to think about how you would scale your mentoring program?
copying. So we really, when we joined YBI, we were approached by YBI. We are Autoocupació. It's a 33 years organization supporting entrepreneurs in Catalonia, a region of Spain. And we were approached by YBI to support us to implement the mentoring program in Spain, in all the country. So, and we are only working in Catalonia. That is one of the 15 regions that we have. So it was so difficult for us to think how to establish a mentoring program in Galicia, in Canarias, in Andalusia, in other parts of the country. So we just reproduced the Youth Business International model, that is an umbrella organization supporting local organizations to deliver better services to young entrepreneurs by creating a network, looking for established organizations at regional level, supporting entrepreneurs, with good relationships with regional governments, with municipalities, with business associations, and with several entrepreneurship support programs. And we have like a due diligence process, and we have been scaling the mentoring program through this methodology, sharing the methodology with other organizations, sharing the same brand. So under the Youth Business International Network, we create the Youth Business Spain Network, sharing the same methodology, the same brand, the same technology. We all manage the program with the same CRM based in Salesforce, and also sharing funding. It was easier for us to raise funds from big corporates if we have a national program than if we manage a local program. So I remember when we were starting with the first mentors, we were calling business people that knew our organization, say, okay, we have 10 people. The first training was like my birthday party because everyone was connected. But now we have 1,400 volunteer mentors in 12 regions in Spain, working on the same brand, with the same methodology, with the same approach, supporting more than 2,000 young entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. And tell us the other stat. You're not bigging up your successes in Spain, but you recently did some, with PwC, some research on the impact of your mentoring on young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we after the first pilot, we have a 4 years project to scale the program in Spain, funded by JP Morgan, and we were requested to have an impact research about what happened with this mentoring, and we measure the impact on the young entrepreneurs and on their businesses, and also in the society. So with entrepreneurs, we realized that they felt that they were increasing a lot their skills. They increased some skills up to 64%. Of course, if you start a business without support, without mentor, you also develop your skills, is the way to do it. But they told us that the mentoring was the key component of the increasing of these skills. We also focus on the business. So after the mentoring, they increased the invoice more than the double. They increased their teams, creating employment on 60%, only in 1 year mentoring. And the survival rate of these companies supported by mentors was 87%. So in Spain, more or less, the survival rate of a new company in the crisis time that we were working with the mentoring, it was like 41%. Companies supported by programs for entrepreneurs, the survival rate is around 65%, and with a volunteer mentor is 87%. And we also measure the impact in the public treasury about these very small companies, but they are paying lots of money in terms of taxes, security, social security, and so on. and the incomes that the government had from these small companies, small new companies, was 20 higher than the money invested in the mentoring program.
Yeah. Very impressive, thank you. Adenike, for you, trying to scale your program.
So when you're just managing about 30 entrepreneurs and mentoring relationships, it's fine, it's easy, it's personal. When it moves to higher numbers, and particularly when you now also start to have entrepreneurs outside of, so we're based in Lagos, but we do programs in a few other cities, and we're also based in another city. It then becomes harder, particularly if you want to keep the standards, still keep the relationships to do that. So there are two things that I'll talk about. One was that because we're 19 years old now, so that means that people that started mentoring or started training with us are also becoming experienced entrepreneurs. So involving program alumni as mentors, particularly those who've gone through mentoring relationships, are very critical elements of that, because they're also success stories and examples of how mentoring has worked for them. They also understand the process, and it's their own way of also giving back to the value that they've also received. So that's number one. And then number two was also using technology. But technology for us was, because we explored different options, and like you said earlier on, technology can be impersonal sometimes because people still want to have that one-on-one connection and feel, and it's still better when you have that person in front of you. So we asked several questions, but the question that we realized that we needed to ask, what was the issue that we're having? Managing the mentoring relationships, and quite a lot around the administrative part. So what we now did was to start to explore options around having a technology platform that allows us to manage and manage this growing number of mentoring relationships. And right now we're working with the Sky's the Limit, also through the Youth Business Network, and also through Accenture locally and Accenture International, helping to, and the Sky's the Limit is a platform that I think has been used in YB USA, but we've adapted it to work with us locally. But what it allows us to do is to manage and administer from the onboarding of the entrepreneurs and also the mentors, to manage that, save the data using artificial intelligence to certain degrees, to better match, to better manage, to also better assess and find out issues as they happen. But it's really helped us in extending and expanding our mentoring relationships outside of places where we currently locate. We've also had to proactively also look, because then we also realized that quite a lot of our mentors were also moving to other parts of the countries too, and which was easy because initially it was for some of them who had volunteered before and they were moving maybe because they had operational basis to move to other parts. They wanted to continue, but we're only offering them mentoring relationships within the locations that we felt was physically present in. But that has also allowed us to expand our mentoring support to other locations outside of the two places that were operationally based. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, so using digital to help you do what you do better rather than, do it all. Shedron, for you, what does scale look like?
Scaling for us was a little bit different. So how much of us know about the Caribbean? Everybody know what the Caribbean islands are? Caribbean islands. Anybody ever went on a Caribbean cruise before? All right. Probably just need to do some marketing for that. So come to the Caribbean, take a cruise. Well, I'm not paying for it. Let me make sure that's clear. But come to the Caribbean, take a cruise. So if you realize the Caribbean islands are small in nature, right? And each island has basically a different culture. We have our own governments. A lot of persons think that you're from the Caribbean. So, we even speak slightly differently. We have our own accents, right? So scaling for us wasn't a matter of getting more mentors on our portfolio, more entrepreneurs on our portfolio. One of the challenges that we recognize that we have a group of trained mentors, but we couldn't find great matches for them, so great entrepreneurs to match with them. And typically because of the skill sets they have and the challenges that the entrepreneurs faced. So, like Faith Foundation, we reached out to YBI as well as YBI USA and actually adopted the sky's the limit. But instead of how do we increase the numbers on our platform, we started working with Barbados as well as Jamaica in terms of their mentoring program and saying, you know, we have a couple of mentors on our side. I mean, you have a couple of entrepreneurs on your side. How could we get them to work together, right? So instead of increasing our numbers in terms of mentors or increasing our numbers in terms of entrepreneurs, how could we do some cross-country matching? And even that in itself, like Canada indicated before, has its own problems because now you're talking virtual, and it's not a drive down the road. It's a it's a plane away in terms of getting those persons. So you have to now navigate. How do I get mentors to actually want to use technology? And I think what motivates them is that they can now find an entrepreneur that they can help. And I think that's the key for mentors. I'm volunteering my time. What I really want out of it is how could you match me with an entrepreneur who can have a real impact on. So when that now becomes a factor, you're doing cross-country matching and virtual connections through Skype, and we had a good presentation with Skype earlier, now becomes a formality. We've had mentors just via phone, so they don't even see each other. But you know, you give me a phone call and I talk to you for 2 hours straight, free, right, through the internet, right? And it's that kind of connection and those relationships, and you keep it going because now I'm making an impact. You're not just matching me with someone who's close by. You're now matching me with someone who I can have a life-changing impact on and their business as well.
Lovely. So yes, responding to your reality and your context and trying to make that work. Brilliant. And finally.
Yeah, so for us, we have problems that are pretty similar to a little bit of what everybody shared. We have about 3,000 volunteer members in our database. That's just in our database. So for us, scaling is not necessarily around recruiting more mentors, but it's around the value proposition and understanding the types of mentors we want. So we have a lot of enthusiastic professionals that volunteer their time with us. However, not all of them necessarily meet the needs of what our entrepreneurs are looking for. So doing a little bit more due diligence in getting that information and becoming more data-centric and information that where the challenges are surfaced and be able to react to that sort of need is where we're looking at scaling. We've been leveraging technology, I can't say to the best of our abilities, and it's funny that all of you mentioned sky's the limit because we're actually currently in conversation with YBI and Accenture to see how we can leverage sky's the limit for our own needs as well. So kudos to you guys for that amazing platform. So we are doing that. The other thing that we do is we hold focus groups. So regionally, just as I mentioned earlier, we're a national organization. So regionally, we hold mentor think tanks where we invite our mentors to come forward. And it's almost an opportunity for people to have a conversation around some of the expectations, some of the challenges, for us to then take it back and look at how do we incorporate that into our expectation setting with the entrepreneurs and the mentors to then be able to provide a bit more of a diverse programming. And as I mentioned earlier as well, our mentoring is tied to financing, and every year, annually, our targets change. So we grow about 5 to 10% annually, and so we're looking at dispersing about 1,000 entrepreneurs, so starting 1,000 businesses a year, and then looking at, of course, making sure we have the relevant mentors recruited to meet those needs.
Wow, some rich experience. Thank you, all of you, for sharing that. I wanted to open it out so if anyone had any questions. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Karina. I'm from Venezuela. Yeah, difficult moment. So.
And you didn't know where the Caribbean was?
I did, but I have been there.
Oh.
But I know Caribbean.
Just making sure.
Really close. So I have this idea since 2016 of making a mentor network in my country. I'm part of the national ecosystem. I have been working with a Spain organization to do that, mentoring in Spain. So, but it is really difficult for us to connect with the businessmen, with the big businessmen on our country, and let them understand the value of work with entrepreneurs as a volunteer. Like they always ask, I have a lot of problems right now as a businessman, running my own business with all this mess in our country. How do I just give my time, and why should I do it for free? What's the winner for me? Like, what's the point? So this is really difficult to do it. And also, when you try to offer them a training to explain them what the mentors need and to develop them with them their skills to be a good mentor, that is because I feel I have my own mentor. She's here with me in the so being a good businessman, it doesn't give you a good mentor, right? So they need a training. My mentor is trained, he's certificated. So I know that they need a trainer, but how you say you need to be trained, we don't have any organization that can give them some money to pay the training for them. So we have to ask them to pay for the training and then say, okay, you will be paying for the training and then give your time for free. So that's the kind of thing. I know the mentoring is so important. I know I have lived the importance of having a mentor in these circumstances to have that help, but I don't know how to reach them to understand what to do.
Who wants to take that one? Who's got the magic to recruitment?
So I don't have the magic to recruitment. I'm not quite sure in terms of what the ecosystem, corporate ecosystem is in Venezuela, but for us, we rely heavily on a corporate engagement strategy. So we have various financial institutions and corporate organizations that have internal engagement strategies, and part of that employee development is giving back and sharing their knowledge base and expertise, which they pay for in their own time. So the company's actually paying for those employees' time. And oftentimes we find that when we're out to recruit, we have a lot more uptake when you reach out to the corporate engagement piece. And one other thing that works well, and it was already mentioned earlier as well by one of my fellow panelists, is the idea of recruiting existing entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs that have already been in your database, that have gone through that experience, we find want to give back. And it's really about the value proposition of paying it forward. And that is what we found is the selling point that works best.
I would also add letting the corporate persons know that all our mentors start with the same training. And the value of the training is not a matter of us letting you know what is the best way to mentor, but you actually sharing your experience with the group. And it's not just one person training. We want to make sure that the entire ecosystem develops and grows. So by you mentoring a young entrepreneur, you have another business in your ecosystem that is developing. So I think that comes back to the paying it forward as well. But the buying is that, even for our training, is how do we get our mentors involved in the training themselves, right? Not just a matter of coming, sitting down and training, right? We're not about that. But how do you now share your experience? So what we usually do is have one slide up and the mentors talk more than the facilitator, making sure that happens. So it's not just about us coming to tell you how to do your mentorship. So even if you know and you think that I'm a best businessman and I know the best way to mentor, which you too, we know it doesn't connect, but come and share your experience, and maybe from that you can actually hear some other businessmen speak about their experience in mentoring. And I think it's the experience sharing is actually the first part of mentoring. So you're actually mentoring while you're in the training, and you're mentoring other mentors. So getting that across to them and showing the benefits of the program is one way. Is also making sure that you have champions and corporate champions as persons. So you may get one. You just need one big fish. Sometimes that's all you need. You just need one big fish to buy into the program and making sure that person tells someone else. I mean, referrals is the biggest recruitment for us. Right? We can do all the presentations to the world and say this is our best program, but if they hear it from someone that they're close to, someone they're friends to, and telling them, you know, you really need to get in this program, they're in.
I also wanted to add that it's not everybody that will be willing or to be a mentor. So even though somebody has had experience and you want that person to mentor, that person may not be able or have the capacity or the competence to do that and may not be the time. So it's important to recognize that. I think the second thing is around storytelling. So sharing stories sometimes in very subtle ways, because before they come to the training, they have to want or desire to do that. So how do you share stories of successful mentoring program? If there's no mentoring culture within the ecosystem, then the first thing you want to do is to address that culture in the ecosystem and let people look, not even just mentoring, but volunteering your time to teach, to advise, to mentor. And maybe that should be the first thing. How do we change mindsets and attitudes towards supporting mentoring or towards supporting younger entrepreneurs by having and showing whatever the success stories that we have and why that's of value. And once that culture starts to permeate, it's easier to recruit and it's easier to involve more people than one originally has.
Thank you. Now, I'm aware I've had 3 people with a question, and I also have one very brief video I want to show before the end. We might run over by a few minutes. Is that okay with everyone in here to do that? But if I could just ask everyone to keep their 3 people I've identified the question, and we'll just have one response from the panel, if that's okay. We're all around afterwards, so if we don't get to it, I'm really sorry. Come find us. Please go ahead.
I'll be very, very quick. My first question is, how do you measure the performance of your mentorship program? Because I want to know, of the mentoring program.
How do you measure it?
Performance indicators of your mentoring program.
Impact.
Yeah, how do you measure success?
Okay. Yes, so...
In one sentence.
Yeah, for the entrepreneurs, asking the entrepreneurs about how they improve their skills and what they learn and what they take from the mentoring, from the business with the main figures about invoicing, about number of employees, and also the survival rate, and for the government about the taxes that they pay.
Yep. You okay? Okay. Hold on, it was the lady here.
Okay, back home in Oman, so I'm coming from Sultanate of Oman, we already have a mentorship program. So it's similar to what you already highlighted in the challenges. But we are looking now to credit the program. So do you know, or do you guide us with any organization that can credit the mentorship program, or at least to credit the mentor that he's a very qualified mentor and he's willing to give, and he's the best mentor, because you cannot compare mentor A with mentor B, for example. So it's mentoring the program and mentoring the participant, the mentor.
There are a couple of I was going to jump in there. There are some organizations out there. Maybe we could take that offline and I can share with you, because it's complicated in some ways and simple in others. But I'm happy to share that with anyone. Final question.
Okay. I don't know about your country, but back home in Nigeria, where I come from, people indicate that they want to be mentored. But oftentimes when you schedule them for the mentoring, you don't find them. So what do we do? Do we start charging them so that they can feel the impact and be committed? Or what do we do to get them get committed?
So this is for the mentees, right? Yeah, so what we do, which was one of the things that we had to do, was to move. So first off, the mentoring is not in its own vacuum. So we never do mentoring for people who've not been through our programs. You have to have come through our formal programs. But then even the process to sign on for the mentoring is also part of the rigor of shortlisting those who are serious and not unserious, because we had a lot of that about 2-3 years ago. And one of the frustrations from the mentors was that the mentees would not show up and all of that. So we do a mentee training and somewhat like we do the mentor training too, and it's a whole day program. We've also found the need to sometimes tie it into some follow-on. So you won't, if we're going to do funding linkages or any other things, you have to have gone through or sign on to the mentoring program. So there are additional add-on benefits that you see from that perspective. Then the first meeting is very, 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 very important. And what we do is to have a celebratory first meeting. We even take pictures. We make it something special for that connection. But before then, it's that the mentees also have to sign, to commit, and be available to be part of the mentoring program. So we've been adapting as it goes. Yes, that's a problem, but those things have helped us to significantly drive down the people who are not, because by the time they're going to start the first mentoring meeting, they've already done quite a few iterations before then, and they realize sort of the seriousness with it too.
And that's a really good point. I know you'll see our hashtag up there, put a mentor in your life. It's stolen from Youth Business Spain's Pon un mentor en tu vida, my lovely Spanish. And that's about, they take a picture of every relationship matched. They tweet it, they put it on their social media. There's kind of putting a stake in that. I'm going to draw to a close because we are at the end. I want to say a huge thank you to my YBI Network colleagues here for their rich experience sharing. There are more of them in the room. I could call them all out. So we have had some supporters here. I hope we've shared some of our experience, some of our excitement of how powerful mentoring can be. We are all around for the rest of today and tomorrow if anyone wants to find us to chat more, because I know there's never enough time for questions. I would like to just share a really brilliant video that, again, has been put together in the network, sharing again, this kind of expectation setting around mentoring. How do we, in a fun way, try and get that message across really quickly for people who maybe, attention span isn't so great? How can we encapsulate it? So in the spirit of the power of mentoring, I would like to share this with you. Hugh, go.
So, you've just started up a new business, but it's not going as successful as you'd expected. Time goes by and the figures don't balance. What you need is a mentor. Yeah! A mentor will help you to reconsider, to rethink, to work it out again, to review that marketing plan that seemed to be so infallible to you. They help you to get organised. Careful! Optimise your time and to improve your results. A mentor helps you to get that loan you didn't dare ask for. A mentor will help you to control yourself when you're feeling up. They'll help you recover when you feel down. And will motivate you when necessary. A mentor will lead you when you need it. And they'll be there until the day you can stand on your own 2 feet. Put a mentor in your life.